Hi, how are you? So, I have a lot of people asking me about my process and how much stuff costs. It's like plane tickets, food, housing, etc., etc. You know, just the cost of the process along the way, and then how Jordan is. Okay, so I'm going to be answering those questions in this video. And, you know, as far as how Jordan is, I'm going to be doing a whole series on Jordan, where I'm going to be taking you to different parts of the city so that you can really see and get a feel for the city. But it's a little hard to do right now because of this coronavirus. You know, a lot of places are shut down here. There are some cases here. There's not that many. There's only about 112 cases and 0 deaths. There has been no deaths here in Jordan yet, but there are about 100 cases. And so they are being very proactive in their response, and they immediately shut everything down, all of the public forums, in an attempt to contain it, okay, so that it doesn't spread, which I think is very wise, you know, because if the US or China would have reacted in the same way, it probably wouldn't have gotten as big as it is now. You know, like when I was in Minnesota just before I left, you know, I was looking on the news regarding coronavirus, and Minnesota said that 2 people got off the airplane who had coronavirus, and they just told them to self-quarantine. It's like, what? It's like, why don't you guys have like places where you guys, I mean, if you're going to test someone at the airport, what is the point of testing them at the airport if you're just going to let them go off into the public? It's like, what's the point of that? Why aren't you guys having centers set up for these people so that you can monitor them to make sure that they're not contaminating the rest of the public? You know, here they have all the people in one area quarantined, and then they just shut everything else down to protect the rest of the public, and they're telling they are not allowing people to leave their homes for, I think it's 2 weeks, in an attempt to contain it. And I think that's very wise. You know what I mean? Like, that's smart. Like, other countries should have done that. Should have been more proactive a lot sooner, and it probably wouldn't have spread as bad as it has. So that's the status on Jordan right now. We do have cases over here too. It's pretty much worldwide at this point. Fortunately, it is not a ton, and there has not been any deaths yet. So thank God for that. So as soon as they get this under control, which I'm hoping soon, because, you know, it's kind of frustrating. Like, I'm in a new country, I'm in my homeland, and I want to explore, I want to go talk to people, I want to go meet all the other Hebrews. There's Hebrews that I'm in contact with here that I haven't been able to meet because of this virus. You know, I want to go fellowship, I want to, you know, I just want to go, you know, and record and just have fun and meet people. And I can't because of this virus. So I'm a little pooped out. But as soon as this clears, hopefully soon, I'm hoping they don't allow this to go on for too long, right? And I don't know, because, you know, I was reading a news thing, and actually I was watching a video, and this guy mentioned that they said that they might not have a vaccine until 21. And I'm just like, what? You know, and not that I'm like waiting on a vaccine, because I'm not going to get it anyway. I don't trust any vaccines. I don't touch any vaccines. So it's not like I'm anticipating for it to come out, but it's just hope that it will be, you know, within containment, you know, once they do come out with something. So as far as how Jordan is, like I said earlier, I will be doing a whole series on it, but I just can't do it now because everything's pretty much shut down, and I want to protect me and my family too. I don't really want to be out there during all this. So, but for now, I can tell you about, you know, what I did, my process, how much it costs, and the cost of living here. I do have a good idea of the cost of living here. So let's talk about that. Okay, so from time to time I will be looking at my notes. I just wrote some topic notes here just to make sure that I don't forget anything. So in my other video, I made it out of Babylon. I kind of briefly discussed my process and what I had to do to save the money to get here. Because by all means, by far, I'm not rich, okay? I don't have a guava money sitting in the bank account somewhere. I don't have any sugar daddies. Okay, like I had to really work and save and work and save. And at one point, I sacrificed to the point because I knew this is what I wanted to do and I knew this is what God was telling me to do. And at one point, I even sacrificed and moved into my truck for like 5-6 months just to get the money together to relocate. Okay, I did whatever I had to do to get out of there because I know scriptures specifically say to leave before she falls. And I'm like, I don't want to get stuck there. So I sacrificed. I did whatever I had to do to get out of there. I didn't care. So if you want to I briefly do discuss what I personally had to do to save the money to get out. If you want to check that out, the video is called I Made It Out of Babylon. But to take it a step further, when I did come up with the money, plane tickets. Let's talk about plane tickets. So to fly to Jordan, when I first started doing research on tickets, I would see tickets anywhere from $1,300 to $1,500, and they fluctuate. But if you know what travel agency to go through, I checked on Cheapo Air is a good one. If I can find the number to the travel agency that I actually went through, I'll put it in the description box, and it's just the number. I can't recall the name of it or anything like that, but I do believe I saved the number in my phone, so I will put the number down in the description box. But it's a travel agency out of, I think it's San Diego, California. They're not the most professional travel agency ever. Like, it was very frustrating dealing with these people, but their tickets were very cheap, so I just dealt with it. So if you can get past the lack of professionalism, you could probably find some really cheap tickets with this travel agency out of LA or San Diego, wherever they are. Otherwise, there's ones like Cheapo Air is really good. You can find some really good deals on Cheapo Air and just other discounted ticket services. I think I went on that website where you compare all the airlines back to back, and then on there, some of those advertisements, the little women with the headsets on would pop up with the number, and I was calling all of them. Those are the ones that you're going to actually find probably the cheapest tickets. When I started calling the agencies, I actually found like a $500 ticket, which was amazing because AMMANJORDAN is like halfway around the world, and regular tickets are like anywhere from $1,200 to $1,800, plus. So a $500 ticket, I was just like astounded. I was like, wow. I ended up losing that ticket because I didn't reserve it, and she didn't tell me I had to reserve it. I called back to reserve it, and it was gone. So I ended up paying, they jacked the prices up, of course, and I ended up paying like $639, which is still a really good deal for a ticket. So it was $639 per person, so me and my son. So altogether for the airline ticket, it was maybe, with taxes and everything, about $1,300 for the both of us. Not bad, okay? But this is where it got expensive because I have a puppy. And she was too big to ride in the, what do you call that, cabin with me, right? So if you have animals, this is where it can get pretty expensive. If your animals are too big, if they're 20 pounds or more usually, and it depends on if Turkish Airlines, their dimensions were a little, I flew through Turkish Airlines. I'll explain that in a minute, but Turkish Airlines dimensions for the animals was a little smaller than American Airlines. And so it's like she qualified because she was under 8 kilograms, I think it was, under 17 pounds. But the measurements for the actual, because you have to put them in some type of a carrier. They can't just sit on your lap. They actually have to go inside of some type of a carrier, whether it be some type of a soft bag or a hard-sided bag, but regardless if it's soft or hard, it has to be within a certain dimensions. You have to check with the airline to see what dimensions the carrier has to be, and that carrier has to fit on the floor in front of your seat. It's like, they basically have to be like itty little bitty puppies or kittens in order for that to really work, because her size requirement qualified, but the actual size of the luggage didn't. It was just too small for her. Like, I sat in the pet store for like an hour trying to squeeze her into a carrier because I didn't want her in the, what do you call that? Cargo, which is underneath the plane, which is scary, right? You don't want to leave your animals in the cargo by themselves, you know, with all the luggage and stuff. It's just like, the flight was like 12 hours altogether. You know, you can't check in with them. You don't know if they're watching them. They're just stuck in the cage the whole time. So it's a little intimidating. I was scared. I was worried. But that's what I ended up having to do, because Turkish Airlines, their pet cage requirements was just too darn small, and I couldn't fit her in any of them. I tried. So she ended up having to go down into cargo. Now, this is where it got expensive, because if they can ride with you in the cabin and you can slide them under your seat, which is not likely, it's cheaper. It's like only about $125 to $175 for American Airlines, but Turkish Airlines was expensive. They charged me $390 to put her in cargo, you know, underneath you and where all the other stuff is. $390. Now, it's not that expensive with American Airlines. For whatever reason, Turkish Airlines charge a ton. I mean, this airline was just so expensive. But otherwise, it's only about anywhere from $125 to $175 for them to ride with you in the cabin. There is a way around being charged anything. You can go to a therapist, whether you have to go for a week or two and play insane, don't get locked up, and you know, just tell them that your puppy or your kitten is your emotional support, and I don't know what I would do, and you know, my apartment won't allow it, and whatever. You can get an emotional support letter. Let me stop trying to tell you guys how to manipulate people. Just a therapist can sign off on an emotional support letter, okay? And with this emotional support letter for your pet, you can take that pet anywhere. You can take that pet into houses or apartments that do not allow animals. That pet can go into stores, fly for free. You can pretty much do anything with your pet if you have something from your therapist saying that it's emotional support, okay? I tried to do that, but my therapist was a hater, and she didn't want to help me. So, and I was on a deadline. I was trying to get out of there before they closed the borders, and so I ended up having to pay the $390. Ouch. It hurt. So there are ways around that, getting an emotional support letter. Another thing on the tickets is anytime you're flying out of a big city, they're always going to be cheaper. I resided in Minnesota, but I had to drive. I got a rental car, and I drove to Chicago, Illinois, and flew out of Chicago, Illinois, because the tickets was like $700, $800 cheaper. And I'm just like, I'll drive 5 hours to save $700, $800, you know, like no brainer. So, you know, keep that in mind. Like, I just ordered a van. I put all the seats down in the van, so all my luggage, I had like 8 luggages. I brought everything that I could fit in 8 luggages with me. And then I have a pallet back at home in the storage unit that I'm trying to get shipped here, but I can't because of all this coronavirus crap. But whatever I could fit in those suitcases went in those suitcases. Ooh, and you want to be careful with that too. I paid up for that because my suitcases were over the weight limit, and Turkish Airlines is super expensive. They charged me a ton. Oh my gosh, a ton of money for my luggages. I basically paid for all my luggages because Turkish Airlines, that's the airline that I flew with out of Chicago, Illinois, they allow 2 free luggages per person and then a carry-on per person. But I basically paid for all my luggages, and I had 7 or 8 because they were all over the weight limit. I think I overpaid like $800 extra just on luggage. Yep, that hurts. Oh, I'm still thinking about that money. I'm like, $800. I'm just sitting up here thinking about what the hell I could have did with $800, right? Ugh. So don't do that unless you're okay with spending the extra money just to get the stuff that you want here. The $800 is going to be a lot cheaper than shipping stuff here. Okay? So I'm actually glad that I did that, even though I had to pay up to get them here, because if I would have tried to ship stuff here, you're paying more than $800, okay? Because the what do you call it? The shipping ports here, the customs in Amman, Jordan are super expensive. I mean, they just assume that Americans are all rich, and they charge you as they go. There's no set prices. Like, you go to the postal office and everything is just like above, and there's set prices. No, not here. Not at customs. All your shipments have to go through customs here. So you can't just like have stuff shipped directly to your house. It's different. It all goes through customs, and then they call you, and then you have to go to customs and pick it up. So they can extort you for money, basically, is why they do that. They just rape you for money. It's super expensive. So I'm kind of glad that I just went on and I put any and everything I could fit in my suitcases and I just paid the extra $800. I would have paid more. And I'm scared because I have a whole pallet at home that I want to get shipped, and they're telling me, how expensive they are. I'm just like, oh my gosh, I don't, I'm scared to ship it here. I'm trying to figure out how I can get it here cheaper. But anywho, so my ticket ended up being a lot more. Like, can you imagine if I paid regular price for a ticket and then getting to the airport and having to dish out another $800 in luggage and then $390 on a puppy? Oh my gosh. I'm glad that I was able to find cheap enough tickets, because it helped, because that luggage and the puppy fee was unexpected. Like, I was expecting to be charged, but I was not expected to be charged as much as they actually charged me. It's foreigners, they tend to extort for cash, especially Americans, because they just assume that we all got it. So I flew with Turkish Airlines. It was cool. I like Turkish Airlines. It was very clean, very professional. They fed us twice, in the like full course meals, and they had beer and wine and whiskey, and it was really nice, very classy airline. And the flight was smooth. It was nice. I enjoyed it. I've never flew on a foreign airline before, but I like Turkish Airlines. I would fly on Turkish Airlines again. And it was kind of cool because they had like different color lights on the airplane that would go in and out. So it'd be like pink and then blue and then red and purple, kind of like, the whatever. So I flew straight from Chicago, Illinois straight to Turkey. Now, I had to fly to Turkey because all the American flights went through Europe some kind of way. Okay, and I'm like, Jordan was saying they're not allowing Turkey and Jordan, those areas over there, were saying they're not allowing anybody into their borders from Italy or from Europe, period, and from Iran and certain areas. And I'm like, well, I can't fly through Europe, because if I fly through Europe, they're not going to let me in there. So I had to go straight from Chicago to Turkey, and then there was a 4-hour overlay in Turkey, and then Turkey to Amman, Jordan, and it worked out well. And it was with the same airline. It was just one flight. I just paid for one flight. It was just had one layover. That's it. Like I said, before I came here, I'd done a ton of research on, the cost of living, and I knew people here that I was in touch with that I asked a ton of questions on and who were living here. And so I already had a good idea of the amount that I needed in housing, how much housing costs and stuff like that. You know, they told me how easy it is to get housing here, so I wasn't stressing. When I got off the airplane, I hit the ground running and I started networking. I was like asking questions. I was from the airport into the city. I was like talking to my cab driver, like picking his brain. Ended up getting a contact for a realtor who ended up working for like the UN and stuff like that. And he put me into a house the next day. Like as soon as I met him, the next day I was in a house. As you can see in the background, this is the house that I got here. I'm going to do a house tour, but I really want to get my neighborhood with it, and I can't do that right now because it's really rainy here. This is Jordan's rainy season. It's really cool. It's really cold right now. This is like winter transitioning into spring, into summer. So we're like right in that transition period from like, you know, winter to spring. So the desert gets cold, you know, it's really hot days and then really cool nights. It cools off a lot because there's nothing to retain that heat. You know what I mean? It's all rock, it's all dust, you know, so it cools off, you know, and rock either holds heat very well or it holds cold very well. So it gets really hot and then it cools down really cool at night. And then during the winter seasons, it's really cool. It's like 40 degrees, 50 degrees, 60 degrees. Right now, it's anywhere from like 50 degrees to about 70 degrees, give or take. It fluctuates. But right now, it's really raining. It's like a rainy season. And so I'm not able to really, you know, even in my neighborhood, you know, and really get any footage because it's just cloudy and nobody's out, you know, and this coronavirus stuff is going around. I really want you to see the heart of the city. Like, I mean, I can go out there and nobody's out there and it's dead. It's a ghost town. It's cloudy. But that's not really, I want you to really get to see the heart of the city. Like, I love my neighborhood and I want you to see why I love it, you know. So I'll do a house tour. I'll do a neighborhood tour and, of course, city and attractions and all that stuff. When the weather shifts a little bit and when this coronavirus stuff kind of lifts up a little bit. But yeah, so as you can see in the background, this is the house the realtor put me in. I'm glad I went through a realtor. You don't have to go through a realtor. It's very easy to get housing here. There's no process, you know, like in the States, they do credit check, they do background check, and it takes a week to know if you're approved or not. And they want this money and that money, that you got to do this, you got to do that. It's not like that here. If you find a contact for a house, usually they have signs on the houses. You just drive around or walk around, you know, and call the number. You want to have long distance on your phone or get a Jordanian SIM card. You can keep your same phone. Like me, I have my American phone that's unlocked, and then I have a Jordanian SIM card, and then I have my T-Mobile SIM card, and I have the simple global plan, I think it's called, with T-Mobile. Simple global plan. And it's just a really cheap long distance plan. And so I'm able to call the States and take that SIM card out and then put my Jordanian SIM card in and then call AMMAN. You know, call around AMMAN. I don't know why I say AMMAN. AMMAN. Don't come here saying AMMAN. It's AMMAN. So you might want to do something like that, or when you get here, get a SIM card, a Jordanian SIM card, so that it's just easier just to call the numbers. But there's usually always numbers on the housing, on the apartments. It's not a really big housing community. You're going to find a lot of villas, but not a lot of houses. I mean, it's just pretty much just apartments here. It's just buildings, pretty much. I mean, I think you have to go like way out in the country to see more housing. But in the city here, in the heart of the city, it's just going to be pretty much apartments and villas. Okay. Villas meaning like more of a private entrance. You have like a whole you know, the whole floor to yourself. Like I'll show you my place. My place is more set up like a villa, not so much like an apartment. Like I have two entrances. I have one that's very private and then one that goes into the building. And then I have like the whole, pretty much kind of like the whole floor on this level to myself, with a backyard that's really fenced in. I'll show you, but that's pretty much all you're going to have in the heart of the city. You're going to have to go out a little bit to probably find houses. It's not that common or popular here. It's just apartments and villas. So anyway, my realtor that I met, who happened to work like for the UN, super nice guy. I mean, oh my gosh, like, because, you know, I brought only so much cash with me because, you know, I was intimidated to bring all my cash with me. Like, who does that? Like, you don't carry all your cash with you, right? Here, you might want to do that. You don't want to bring, like, they're not a big Visa credit card place here. You're going to need cash. You're going to need American cash, and you're going to need to, what's the word I'm looking for? Switch it out. You know what I mean? I can't think of the word right now, but you're going to have to exchange it for JD's Jordanian money. That's going to be the bulk of the transaction. The currency transaction here is cash, okay? They don't, I mean, you find a lot of, like when you get into more of the high-end restaurants and you go to the malls and, you know, places like that will take Visa and credit cards. But most places, you're going to need cash. And so I only had so much more cash on me because, like I said, at the airport, I had to dish so much out on my luggage unexpectedly that I was really short on cash. And so I ended up having to go to the ATM and take out the money, I think 3 or 4 days. Because, you know, ATMs give you so much that you can take. My bank anyway, Wells Fargo, only gives me I have a limit on my ATM withdrawal, and they won't raise it. I've been with this bank for like 18 years, and they won't raise my ATM limit. I have no idea why. But anyway, I had to go back and forth to the bank like 3 or 4 days just to get the money out to put down on this place. And they were so patient. And, you know, any other place would be like, in America, they're like, you don't got the money, like, come back when you do, you know. No, like, he put me in this place before I even, like, gave him all of the money. You know, he just took me on my good word. And I literally went back to the ATM every day for like 3 or 4 days and just gave him, you know, however much I could take out of the ATM. And I was just like, wow, you know, people are like super freaking nice here, you know. But that just goes to show you like how easy it is here. It's not like America. You know, it's very easy here. You know, like America, I feel like is just so hard. You know, you got to go through hula hoops. You got to go through this hoop and this obstacle course here, and do you qualify? Are you good enough? You know, is this good enough? Do you have that? Do you have this? Who are you? Who do you know? Oh, classes and races, and you know, it's not like that here. You know, and I was just like, oh my gosh, I was like falling in love with this guy. I was like, he was really like working with me and helping me, like he really cared. Okay. He cared. Something that I'm just not used to anymore. It's just like so many narcissists in America, you know, it's just all about me, 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 you know, it's just like, well, if you don't meet the requirements, then I'm just going to throw you away in the garbage, you know. And here, I just feel like people here have a conscience, you know, like they care, you know. They're not going to just leave you on the wayside, like they're going to help you. Like he was helping me, he was working with me, you know. And he put me in the house the very next day. Like I said, I paid it off over the course of 3 or 4 days. And I was in a place. Now, the thing with the housing here, because it's so cheap, the housing here is really, really cheap. This place here, it's a 2-bedroom, 3.5 bath. It's like 1,800 square feet. but it's only like I pay only like 500 JD a month, okay? Now keep in mind that Jordanian currency is stronger than the US, okay? So even though they're cheaper and things are cheaper here, their dollar is stronger than ours. So every dollar we lose 30 cents. Okay, so even though this is only 500 JD, in USD it would be like 630. Okay, so in USD I'm paying about 630 or plus. I'm not a mathematician, okay, but you get the point. It's going to be a little higher in USD always because we only get 60 cents on every dollar. Okay, so you do the math. But still, that's not bad. That's still really cheap for all this space, and it's nice. I'm going to show you. This is a decent place. And another 1, 2, 3. Hello, hello. Oh, my batteries. I gotta switch my batteries out. Testing 1, 2, 3. Okay, we're back in business. I had to switch my batteries out. My microphone wasn't on. I hope the recording still is going to come through good and you guys can hear me. But anywho, so most of the places here come furnished, and it's nice furniture. Most of your places you're going to find that has really decent, nice, modern looking furniture, okay? So you don't have to bring your big furniture with you. Like I said in my other video, I just gave my big furniture away. Like I didn't even sell it because I was trying to get out of there so bad. I just gave it away. And I'm glad I did because I was, kind of struggling. I'm like, should I just put the stuff on a pallet and ship it? And I'm glad I didn't ship it because it wouldn't have been worth it because the furniture here is nicer than, almost nice, is as nice or nicer than the stuff I had. So it would have been a waste of money, So you don't have to worry about big furniture. It comes with beds, appliances, couches, TVs. I have a massive dining room tables. Like it comes completely furnished. Even with dishes, pots and pans, silverware, cups. I didn't have to buy any of that stuff. Okay, chairs, nothing. Yeah. So you don't have to worry about bringing big furniture. Let me see what else. So how they do it here, because the housing is, I got sidetracked, because the housing here is so cheap, they would prefer you to pay anywhere from 3 to 6 months out. Now that doesn't mean that they're going to it's not a mandate. Like you can talk them down. Like this place, he tried to originally give it to me for $650. I talked him down to $500. Okay, he originally wanted 6 months. I talked him down to 2 months up front. Okay. So just to give you guys an idea, I mean, if you know how to talk to people, and they're so nice here, like they're just really, they're so warm and so nice. Like they just really, there's no motive, they're just like, okay, sure, So it went from 650 to 500, and then he originally wanted like 6 months, and I talked him down to 2 months up front, because I wanted to pocket more money because, I didn't have a job, and so, and I didn't want to pay every 6 months because that's a lot of money that you have to make sure that you're putting up. It's more stressful for me anyway. It might be easier for some people to do it that way, but for me, it's just like, that's such a long stretch, So mine's is every 2 months, so I pay every 2 months. So I paid 2 months up front, and then I paid half a month's deposit. Now, deposit, I don't think it's really much of a requirement here for most places. I honestly think my realtor pocketed it. And you know what? I don't even care if he did because he was just so nice. He put me in a place. It's nice. He came down on the price. You know what I mean? Like, I don't even care if he did. But deposits are not that common here. You can talk your way out of a deposit. But they do want something like 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 months up front. Okay? But like I said, you can talk them down. If you don't have 6 months, if you don't have 3 months, I got 2 months up front, and they might even, one lady here does month to month. So it's not it's not the mandate, it's not the rule. There are exceptions. So 2 months up front, then half a month deposit, which I get back when I move out. And then I had to pay my realtor. There was a realtor fee. Okay, now this guy takes you around, shows you as many houses as you want. You tell him what you're looking for. You tell him what you want. Like I told him I wanted a balcony. Originally, I wanted a balcony, but that was before I knew they had villas here. And so when he showed me this place, I'm like, this place is perfect because I have like a whole bricked in backyard and I have a puppy. Now, this is the desert, so there's not that much grass, right? So I'm walking my dog, and shitting on, excuse my language, I curse like a sailor. I'm not perfect. God is still working on me, okay? I never said I was perfect and holy aren't. No. I still have a lot of stuff that needs to be purged, okay? And one of them is my potty mouth. I curse like a sailor. It's so embedded in my subconscious, I just can't help it. It just comes out, just But anyway, excuse me. So, I was concerned because there's not that much grass here, and I'm like, well, I don't want her pooping on the concrete, and then the neighbors, I'm not going to be out there scrubbing poop off the concrete, and I didn't want the neighbors getting upset because they don't like dogs here. Like, dogs are considered unclean, like sometimes Izzy will get away and, she's a lovable dog. She wants to kiss people and jump on people, and they're like, oh, they're like jumping out of the way, trying to get away from her. Like they don't, dogs in their religion are considered unclean, and so they can't even touch them. Okay, they don't even like touching them. And that's not all Jordanians. I've seen a lot of Jordanians with dogs here. So it's not like a huge thing, but you will find, if you have animals, dogs, cats, I don't know what it is about cats. They have a lot of stray cats here. Oh, I mean, a lot of stray cats. You're going to see about 1,000 cats anywhere you go, just alley cats just roaming around. I don't know what it is with cats, but I know with dogs, their religion is they're unclean and they can't even touch them. And so they're just like, so I knew that, if I didn't have a place, her pooping on the concrete and I'm not going to be out there scrubbing poop off the concrete, I'm like, I need somewhere for her to be able to go, and so I'm like, and he put me into this place. I have there's nothing but grass back there. No, there's a little patch of concrete, a little circle of concrete where you can put chairs and stuff, but there's nothing but grass. It's perfect. I'm like, oh my gosh, thank you. Because most of their sidewalks are just concrete. There's really not, you're not going to see much grass on their walking, their sidewalks, right? So yeah, I'm trying to think what else I could say about housing. Yeah, I don't know. I'm trying to think. You guys can always let me know what questions you have too. If I don't cover certain things in my videos, just let me know. And I'll, in the comments below, if you have questions or concerns or whatever it may be, just ask me and I'll answer it in the comment section below. If I missed anything, I'm trying to make sure I don't miss anything. But that's housing costs. The average house here, and I pay $500 here because, it's a little bigger and private interests in the backyard. But you could find a place for $250 a month. They have studios for like $200 a month here. If it's just you or you have a small family and you just want to, spend a little less on a place at first, you can come here and find a studio for $250 a month. Nice places. They're not going to be crappy places. This is their housing price range here. So it's not, don't think like, well, $250, well, it's going to be crappy and it's going to be rat infested. No, this is their price range. This is their housing prices here. And so you can find a really decent place for $250, $300. $500 is more on the higher end for AMMAN. And I'm like, what? That's cheap. You know what I mean? But for AMMAN, that's more on the higher end, like $500. Like a lot of Jordanians are telling me you paid too much. $500, that's too much money. You could have talked them down more. And I'm just like, what? So the housing here is really, really cheap. And don't confuse or, think of cheap as being crappy. That's just the housing market here. It's just really, really inexpensive. Okay? And they're really nice places. Like I looked at 5 places. I wish I would have recorded them so that you guys can see their housing here, and all their houses are going to be different. You know how in America their housing, their floor plans are all the same? Just that little box with the little kitchen on the side and you got the little hallway with the bedrooms. No. Here, every house is going to be unique. All the furniture is going to be unique. I love their houses here. They're so cute to me. I just think they're so cute. It was really hard to choose a place. The only reason why I chose this place is because of the outside for my puppy. And, but it was really hard to choose a place because they were all nice. And I could have found I found a 2-bedroom with they had stainless steel appliances, all upgraded, what do you call those, accents and all that stuff. And it was $100 cheaper than this place. It was only $450 a month. And it was a 2-bedroom, 3-bath. Same as this place. It was a lot smaller though, and it was an apartment. It wasn't a villa, it was an apartment. But it was $450 a month. JD, right? So nice places, come furnished. Housing, and there's no process. You can get in, as long as you have the money, you can get in a place. Don't worry about not being able to find a place. There's lots of housing available here. You can get in the same day if you have the money. If you have the money, you're in. Housing is the easy part, okay? That's easy. Housing is easy. You don't have to go through a realtor. Like I said, I wanted to get in a place right away. I knew people here, but, I couldn't stay with any of them. So I didn't want to spend my money on hotels, which are very cheap, by the way. I found a hotel for $15 a night. $15 a night. So the first night I was here, I stayed in a hotel, and it was $15 a night for me and my child and my puppy. Mind you, it wasn't the cleanest hotel. But shoot, I'm just like, I ain't finna be spending over $100 on a hotel. You know what I mean? And I'm trying to get into a place. And so I sacrificed and I found a cheaper hotel, $15 a night. That's insane. That's crazy. And so I was there the first night, and then the second night I moved into this place, just like that. So, realtor fee. My realtor fee was $300. Okay. So just keep that in mind. Average is about $200, $250, $300. That's a normal realtor fee. If they're trying to charge you more than that, I wouldn't do it. So that's housing. Let me see what else. Food. Food in Amman is pretty comparable to the U.S. for hard goods. Produce is cheaper. The produce here is very, very, very cheap and has a ton more flavor. I mean, has a ton of flavor. Hold on, my computer is a little. Like their vegetables, because you know I'm vegan. I'll say aspiring vegan. Okay, let's say aspiring vegan, because I do from time to time eat cheese and ice cream. I can't give up ice cream. Like I struggle with ice cream from time to time. Most of the time I'm good. So, you know, their produce was a big deal for me, and their produce is cheap. Very, very cheap. Now, their hard goods is going to be pretty comparable to the U.S., okay? A little cheaper, but pretty comparable. So the food, as far as grocery shopping, is going to be pretty comparable. I say just a little cheaper. A little cheaper. Restaurant food, on the other hand, is a different story. Now, that's a large range. The food here is can be very, very cheap as far as eating out. It can be very, like, I think the first week and a half we were here, we ate out like every day because it was so freaking cheap. So cheap, like, and there's a scale, like it ranges. I mean, you have your high-end restaurants, and you have, like, I'm vegan, so I'll go to usually vegan restaurants and vegetarians. You know, a place that has a lot of vegetarian options is going to be a little bit more spendy, right? But we found this pizza place. We got a pizza for $1.50. JD. We got like 2 pizzas, and I tried like this Jordanian pastry stuff, and it was only like $4.50. I was like, oh my gosh, we're eating pizza every day. I'm on a budget. So their food, I mean, can be really, really cheap. I mean, super cheap. You can get a burger for like probably less than $2 here. You can get a whole meal for $2 here. You know, it's super, super cheap, super cheap. And then you have your higher end restaurants. Like I said, I checked out a few vegan, vegetarian restaurants, and they're always going to be a little bit more expensive. And I paid $15. One of them I paid $35. JD. Right? And then you have to think of the dollar difference in USD. It's going to be a little bit more. So it's quite a big range on eating out. As far as eating out, the range is like, you know, you can pay anywhere from like $4 for a whole meal, 2 pizzas and a pastry and a drink, to paying average prices that you would pay, you know, if you go to the more higher end, more expensive restaurants. So wide range of restaurants as far as pricing goes. Let me see. Their food, their produce, I think I might have already mentioned this, but their produce tastes, there's so much flavor in their produce. It can't be GMO. It just can't be. I haven't done any research on it, but it can't be. Like, it tastes more vibrant. It tastes different. Their water. So you can't drink their water here. You can do everything else in it though, but you can't drink it. I don't cook with it. I have a filtered water dispenser in my kitchen, and they changed the filters when I moved in, and so the water filter, I use that for cooking. But otherwise, I do bottled water. I mean, even when I was in the States, I didn't do faucet water because I don't trust their water neither, you know. I wouldn't cook with faucet water. I wouldn't drink with faucet water. And I don't ever drink Aquafina. The only reason why I'm drinking Aquafina over here is because they don't have the water that I had in the U.S. I miss it. But Aquafina is very popular here for bottled water. And I don't know any of the other brands here, and so I just go with what I know. But I don't trust Aquafina neither. I'm very particular when it comes to my water. Very, very, very particular. So for now, until I can really research and do some experimenting on the water, this is what I'm doing here. They're liter. They have a lot of litered bottles. They have a lot of those collagen bottled waters in the grocery stores. And you can do like a collagen water bottle where you have the dispenser here. Those are very popular here with the hot and cold dispensers. A lot of the Hebrews here have that. I'll probably eventually get something like that. And it's only like, the bottles I think are only like maybe a few JD a month. So maybe 3, 4, I think something like that. She said a month. But yeah, so that's the water. But bathing and all that stuff, like it's clean, it's clear, you know, it's fresh. You just can't drink it. Transportation. So transportation is cheap. When I say cheap, I mean cheap. It is cheap. They have Uber here. They have buses. They have regular taxis. You don't have to worry about buying a vehicle here. You can if you want, but it's really expensive to buy cars here. I don't plan on buying a car here. You don't need one because the transportation here is so cheap. And everywhere you go, you can literally step outside of anywhere and find a taxi. There's yellow cabs everywhere. I mean, literally everywhere. I come out of my bathroom and there's a freaking taxi there, okay? But they have Uber here, and they have regular taxi service, and they have the bus transportation service. Uber and taxi, let me tell you how cheap it is. You can take a 20-minute Uber ride for $1.50. $1.50 JD. That's cheap. Your average ride, I don't think there's anything less than $1.50. So most of your rides are going to be like $1.50 JD. Cheap. I've drove 20, 25 minutes on purpose just to explore. I mean, I would pick like the furthest coffee shop and I'll get in an Uber and just drive 20, 25 minutes, you know, wherever, whatever direction. And it was only like $1.50 JD. Super cheap here. You don't need a vehicle here. You really, and they drive, oh my gosh, they drive so crazy here. They drive so crazy here. Crazy. You remember those videos, the videos where they have those roundabouts and all those cars are like coming together all at once and there's no order and people are like stopping, going and going around. It's just like this. That's Amman. I mean, there's no, like America, there's no order, like you drive in this lane, they drive in that lane. You know, you let this person in, you turn on your blinker to let that person in to get over in this lane. No, these people do whatever the hell they want to do. I was scared. Like when I was in that cab coming from the airport, I was going to have a heart attack. I thought I was going to die. I was like, you guys drive so crazy here. Oh my gosh. They drive nuts. I don't know if I would want to drive here, but you know what? If I did, I probably would fit in very well because I'm a speed demon and I drive crazy myself. I don't drive as crazy as them, but I drive crazy. I would probably fit in. But I have no interest driving here. I have no interest getting the car. Like, I think public transportation is cheap enough. And Amman is really not that big of a city. It's easy to get around. Taxis will take you anywhere. And like I said, it's like New York. Like, you can literally step outside of anywhere and there's a taxi. You know what I mean? And it's just so cheap. It's just like, why invest the money in a vehicle? And the cars here are very, very, very expensive. So I don't plan on buying a car. I just don't. Unless I just come up on some money and I'm just like, can really afford it. And it's just like, okay, why not? But if that doesn't happen, I probably won't own a vehicle here. And I'm okay with that because transportation is so... I would be spending less probably doing Uber and taxi than I would owning a vehicle. The gas, and it's just, why? Why? So that's transportation. And you can literally go anywhere you want. They'll take you anywhere. Like, you know, I was looking at some jobs by Dead Sea because there's a lot of hotels and stuff over there and a lot of tourists, you know, tips, you know. And I looked to see how much Uber would be to take me out to the Dead Sea because it's like over an hour away from Amman, this, you know, the city center of Amman. So like over an hour away, Dead Sea. And it was only like $30. And I was just like, oh my gosh, I can literally take this to work every day. Fortunately, they have buses. A lot of the resorts in the Dead Sea have buses that come to the city to pick their employees up and take them to work. So I wouldn't have to spend the money on cab. But before I knew that, I was like looking at transportation like, man, I really want to work out there because I know the money would probably be really decent. But how would I get out there? It's over an hour away. And so I looked at Uber and it was only like $30. And I was just like, oh my gosh, it's so cheap. You know, over an hour ride for $30. But they do have transportation that comes to the city to pick you up if you work at the resorts out there. So that's transportation. Let's see here. What am I missing? I can't really think of anything else right now. I'm trying to think. Like I said, if you guys have any questions regarding Amman, just ask me in the comment section below. I'll answer your questions that you have. I also have my email, which I don't really check that often, but I have my email in the description box too. If you leave it in the comment section, I'll be more likely to get to it. Yeah, the weather here, I think I kind of mentioned that earlier. It's the desert, so I think the average temperature here is about 90 degrees, anywhere from 80 to 90 degrees. It can, on some occasions, get hotter than 90 degrees, like 100 plus. It's the desert. But that's not the norm. The norm average is about 80 to 95-ish. And then it cools down a lot at night. It gets really cool at night. So you can be wearing a bikini during the day and a jacket at night, okay? So you have that contrast in the weather here. Yeah, this video has already been long enough, is already long enough rather, and like I said, if you guys have any additional questions that I did not cover in this video, you can ask me in the comment section below. I will be doing more videos on Amman as soon as the weather gets a little nicer. We're in our rainy season, and as soon as this coronavirus clears up. So until next time, take care and Yah bless.